welcome to my Boss Capital channel. My name is Michael Chu. This is US market recap video for the week ending September 5th, 2025. We are currently, still in the uptrend. The market hasn't broken down yet, and we see that, the last 2 weeks, the market, Nasdaq chart here, we came down to the red line, the 10-week moving average, and we've been fighting that, and then here we test the red line again. So yeah, we have tested the red line here, the 10-week moving average once again, and guess what? We were able to bounce off that. Not only that, we actually came higher than the week before and the 2 weeks ago. So all of a sudden we are back to near new high zone, and so that proves that, after two tests here, that looks really really promising, right? So this is really good news. Up the rally now to 22 weeks up, which is one of the longest rally we've seen in the last couple of years here. So so this is very promising as well. So on the daily chart, we have seen three recent pullback in a little bit over a month here. So we have successfully tested near the 10-week moving average, so the 50 days line. Once again, we tested that here as well, and now again we have passed to new high. At least intraday, we were able to 21,878. So that is an intraday high. It did come back down during the last. So on Friday we had the job report, which was weaker than expected, but the market liked the news, because of, hey, that will solidify the Fed rate cut coming up on September 17th. However, after that gap up, the market, the rally momentum in the morning dissipate pretty fast here. And at one point, I think there's probably a lot of panic selling, and there's lots of some people were saying, oh, this is the top, right? And then we did fine footing and look at this bounce right here, and then after that, more importantly, it didn't come back all the way down, and we closed near the middle range for the day. So overall, it is a good day, because once again we test the low here, right, on the intraday. So we found support near the 10-day, and we were able to bounce off that. So yeah, so again we closed near the halfway point. So that's a good sign. Like, I was streaming about this in the morning that yeah, if it can bounce back, that would be really ideal, and it did. So that again, so what we're going to look at is, there could be many stocks setting up right now, because we have gone through like at least two, if you count this one, that would be three recent pullbacks. And so you look at, especially if it's since this is Nasdaq, you look at your tech stock and you kind of compare, for example, right, we have this first pullback here around, let me see the date here, July 31st, right? And then we have this peak here, August 13, and then we have this peak here, August 28, right? So those 3 dates are very important, because what you want to see is that ideally your stock should be, if it has been pulling back, that does it look healthy? Is it near the recent high like the index are? Things like that. Look at the relative strength line. Is it going down for the stock? Because that is compared to, like, S&P, for example. So anyhow, let's continue with this index here. Again, we are at new intraday high. That's really good news, and we bounced back from the 10 days. So both of them positive, and on the weekly chart we end up positive, which resumes the rally. And again, we test the 10-week line now twice in the last 3 weeks. So that is also very healthy. So I'm really excited for the market right now. So I know September is proven to be more volatility, more shakier, but these are very good developments here. 100 chart, you can see that 4 of the last 5 weeks are all in the positive. And again, we have a really nice bounce near the the red line here, 10-week moving average. So S&P looks a little bit nicer than the Nasdaq chart. So here we see the three recent pullbacks that Nasdaq also had. But each time here we were able to clearly make new highs here. And once again, on Friday we have an intraday high. Again, we found support at the 10-day here in the morning. So very good. So again, very similar chart on Friday morning. We have a gap up, and then we have this strong sell-off in the morning, and then we were able to find support, the intraday low there, and then we were able to close near the halfway mark there. For Dow, we are having the second down week, not by too much, just 0.3% this week down. So still pretty near the highs here. We did, come down a little bit during the week here, the lows there. But again, we didn't really touch the red line. We didn't come as close to the red line as S&P and Nasdaq did. So from that perspective, it's acting stronger. But also it didn't close the end of the week like at positive. So that's a little bit weaker. So it's a little bit more like both sides of the story. So we'll see what happens. But on the daily chart, have this huge pullback here. Then we have a more subtle pullback, and then we have the more recent pullback here. And here we have the huge day. And since that time, it hasn't moved too much. So yeah, so that was the day when the Fed announced a policy shift. Po- you know, and so September 17th is the Fed day. So people are expecting a rate cut right now. And now it did close a little bit weak on Friday. Overall, let me go to intraday chart here. So because it didn't come back as high as the other two did, but overall it still kind of found support near the lows here and was able to come back up, but it just didn't close near the middle ground, so it looks slightly weaker on the daily chart. But the good thing here is we're still at the 10-day, and we also found support here at the 21-day. So here's the Russell 2000. This 10-week moving average line is very strong. You can see the slope right now is definitely more than 45-degree angle. And then you can also see that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The last 5 weeks is up after we test the support here near the black line, which is the 200-day moving or 40-week moving average. And this week we also test a lower low here during the intra week. But as you can see at the end of the week, we were able to close at the top. So this is a very powerful V-shaped rebound. It is not making new high. It has been lagging the other three index, but this one has come back like a very strong win, and it's definitely showing its strength right now. So here's a closer look at recent weeks here. So here's a recent pullback. We have this other pullback, and then we have this bigger pullback here. So we found support at the red line here. Then we found support at the 21-day line here, and most recently we found support at the 10-day. So the index is definitely gaining momentum. Here's the green line slope here. Looks pretty strong as well. So yeah, we closed at a new high, a new recent high, and so this one is looking the strongest. Here's the intraday chart. It gap up, and then this looks stronger than the other index because it keep going for the first 20 minutes here roughly, and then we start shaking down. But again, we found support right here, and you can see at the end of the day, it just want to close even stronger. So that's really healthy. Here's the Innovator IBD 50 ETF representing the top 50 stocks here on the growth side. Again, we see very similar action. We have this one huge week down intra week, but then we were able to bounce back of the 10-week moving average. And then this week we were able to test the low again near the 10-week moving average. So it came down back to the red line, but then look at where it closed. We pretty much closed in the top half of the range, as well as we are trading near last week's close, and we are actually closed a little bit higher, 0.74%. And here's some the recent trading on the daily chart. So here we see the pullback right here, and then we found support near the 21-day, and then here we found support on the 10-day on Friday. So yeah, overall, we have a new recent closing high. This is it's a little bit choppy. Again, so far September has been very choppy this first week, including last Friday. Five days in a row we see very choppy action, very big swings, right? And you can see from the daily chart here, like the swing, here from the top to the low, from the top here last Friday to the low, and then on Tuesday, because Monday is holiday, and then we see the bottom low here and swing all the way back to the top here, and then Friday, we saw in the intraday chart, we have a gap up, then we have a sharp shakeout, and then we came back, right? So, definitely more volatile than usual, in September so far, and I think we will expect more of this going forward, at least for this month. This week we coming from the Investors Business Daily newspaper here. We have hiring stalls over the summer, where non-farm payrolls only rose by 22,000 in August, which is below expectations. June was also revised to a decline of 13,000. So good producing sectors continue to shed jobs, because of Trump tariffs, and the jobless rate is now ticked up to 4.3%, and wage growth also cool. The advanced decline line here at the bottom, NYSE. This is New York Stock Exchange, and we did see, compared to S&P, it is also trying to at least near the high or making new high right now. So that's a good sign, because that means that the market breadth is there. And on Friday we see 1,300 stocks versus 900 stocks down, 1,300 up. On Nasdaq, here we have the advanced decline line. It's been a little bit weaker. You can see recently we have this big drop right here from here to here, and then and it kind of just went sideways after, even though the index is bounced back a little bit. And again, it's not too far from high, but the relative strength is also lagging, right? Lagging the index. So definitely stocks are performing better in terms of market breadth on S&P versus Nasdaq. Here's QQEW. This is also similar, the equal weight Nasdaq 100, and you can see it's still kind of on the downtrend mode, right? So it has bounced back from last week's, I mean from earlier this week, the low here on Tuesday morning. But but we still kind of not quite over the hump here. Here's a 10-day line roughly at that level. So this is QQEW, so a little bit still weak, right? Here's RSP 500 equal weight ETF here. So this one, has bounced back above the 200-day, the 10-day moving average here, and so it's slightly better, but again, we're not closing strong. We still closed above yesterday, but it's not super strong, right? But at least they hold the support at the 21-day there, on Tuesday and Wednesday and even Thursday and Friday. We're able to like stay slightly above the 10 days. So there's improvement here. For next week we have inflation data coming. That includes the PPI data, producer price index Wednesday, and consumer price index coming out on Thursday. So those are two key data. We also have earnings coming from Rubrik, Oracle, and Adobe. Most earnings are all mostly reported now, and so we are kind of waiting on economic news now, and any macro news coming out. Definitely plunged this week, and that also helped with the long-term mortgage rate, which is now, I believe, on Friday it's like 6.29%. So yeah, this really helps home builders group. So we go to look at ITB as the ETF here, home construction. This one, has been on a nice uptrend right now, and you can see Friday it make a big move here. Up 2.2%, outperforming all the index. Here's the US dollar, just kind of also coming down on Friday after the job number. The US dollar holding steady. It's not, giving up or anything. It's just kind of a little bit on the downtrend right now, but it does have a bottom. It found bottom many times here. So we'll see how that goes. Gold broke out this week. Very strong movement. This is definitely one of the strongest area in the marketplace right now. A lot of gold stocks are making new high. Definitely, we'll cover some of these gold stocks in my next segment video, where we cover the top growth stocks. Here's silver. Silver is also, making new high this week. Friday it didn't make a new high, but it's still pretty close to the highs there. Copper hasn't bounced back much yet. It's still quite weak, so that definitely have some effect on a lot of country index as well. And for Bitcoin, it has really kind of show a topping sign at least short term, and we see this recent downtrend line here. Uh, it didn't make new low this week, so that's a positive sign. The 4 days of this week, it didn't make a new low after last Friday's punch down here. So this might be a good sign, but we're still on a downtrend. So, but at least this could swing the momentum back above, right? So we'll see. So for the week, IBD signal is still very strong, 80 to 100%. We did have minor distribution day on Tuesday, as well as on yesterday, Friday, with just a minor drop on S&P. So the distribution count is still a little bit high, 6 and 6. Last week we didn't have any, and then the 3 weeks before we had a lot, right? So if of course it takes time for this ones to go away, but it's not good that we add two new distribution days this week. But September again, we may see more volatility in September, so I expect even some more distribution days this month. But hopefully it won't derail the market too much. So we'll see. On the accumulation side, we are seeing strong accumulation now. You know, Improvement, like from 5 weeks ago. We saw two down, two slightly more distribution days here, and this is the number of stocks accumulated versus distributed, and meaning the rise on higher volume versus drop on higher volume, right? And this week again, we see positives more than the negatives on terms of accumulation versus distribution. Same thing with sector industry groups here, industry groups. So we're seeing more industry groups also, except for Wednesday, slightly lower on more on the distribution side. On the sector side, we see technology rising here by the end of the week, 41. So definitely showing strength as well, surprisingly, because we saw earlier from RSP and also the what do you call the advanced decline line for Nasdaq is not as strong, right? But yet here we're seeing some technology stocks showing some accumulation. Retail is okay, industrial is okay. They did pick up by the end of the week, and then health pretty strong by the end of the week, and commodities it's okay. It did come down on Friday, and that includes gold stocks, and financials are the weakest right now, which is also surprising to me. Yeah, because Russell is doing well, but yet this week it didn't see that much accumulation, right? So at the beginning of the week, SMH here, the semiconductor ETF, fell below the 10-week moving average, right, at the beginning of the week, which looks really bad because it looks like we've broken a trend line, which is this red line here, the 10-week moving average. But we were able to close by the end of the week, actually, just at that line, near that line. So it is able to recover, and then on the daily chart, you see it more clearly because it's actually above all the short-term moving average here, 10, 21, 50 day here. So it come up a little bit, but and it was trading pretty tight for the whole day, which is kind of interesting. So it wasn't as volatile. So we did see this gap out, we did see this shakedown, and then we have this bounce back here by the end of the day. So overall, market is really liking the semiconductor group right now, and part of that is due to AVGO reporting really strong earnings on Friday. It shot up in the morning, but it gave back some by the end of the day. But it was able to hold, the intraday lows here, and so it looks pretty good. So Broadcom here, yeah, so it came back, like I said, some of the gains here on the daily chart you can see. but it was a nice clean breakout from a lot of volume, and so this might give a potential entry opportunity. Here's the 10-day slope right there, so we're just gonna see how it react as the line comes up, and it will come up very fast. So we'll see, in a few sessions here how this behave, whether it will come back on the way to 10-day or it's gonna bounce at some point. That will be a good entry point. Looking at NVIDIA, it's definitely not doing well. This is on a very clear downtrend at this moment. It's actually dropping faster than the 10-day moving average here on the green line. And it's now below the 50-day. And this was a clear sign right here. We had 3 days near that red line, and it just doesn't have any power whatsoever to even move above that. And then on Friday, it couldn't recover. Like it gapped down and it just couldn't recover at all. So that's very negative. So here's the gap down, and this is very interesting because as we saw in Nasdaq, it actually gap up. This one actually gap down, and then it just went down further. And again, it didn't recover much. It looks more like again the L-shaped pattern is a very dangerous pattern. Look at AMD here. Also doesn't look well here. Looking kind of broken as well. So very strong downtrend line right now. So yeah, there's definitely mixed picture right now. Like even though SMH was able to bounce back, but some of these mega caps are just getting hammered. Here's TSM. TSM actually did well here on Friday. It's pretty strong movement here on volume as well. So it's a nice breakout from trend line here. Moving on to the IGV, the software group here, definitely looks also very weak, right? It did climb back slightly above the 10 and 21 day here, but overall, the pattern looks very weak. Let's go to the weekly chart. So here we can see clearly we are below the red line here. So this is a lot weaker than the semiconductor group. So this, looking at Microsoft here, this one looks also bad because you can see it make new low, close at new low, and you can see the IBB pattern is already drawing out a base pattern here because it has dropped 11% so far, so it's still considered a flat base. Generally, I think 15% is where it become more of a bigger base. So that is a very negative look here. It didn't recover at all whatsoever, so that's not a good sign. So you can see it goes down, keep making new lows, and by the end of the day, it barely move at all. So momentum is definitely on the downside. So the big news this week was for Google because they had won this antitrust for their Chrome browser, and that really shot the stock up on Wednesday, Tuesday or Wednesday here. Really high volume, super high volume. I think that day was up quite a bit, 9% maybe. Yeah, 9%. And look at that, it just keep falling through the next couple of days, and you can see the green line now is starting to curve up. So this is starting to be very strong in terms of acceleration here on this move. We come out, we have this traditional buy point right here near the, I don't know, probably 200-ish here level, and then now we just took off here, looking pretty good. And if you look at Google, look at this pattern here, like the volume bar here, and you have so many blue wicks, right? And so many blue volume too. So Google is definitely accumulated by institutions right now because you see those volume coming in support this stock. Meta here bounced back on the weekly chart slightly, so it's trying to find a support right here. This is the 10-day moving average right here. So for 2 days now, it's able to stay above the short-term moving average. So that is also a good sign. Yeah, it's a good sign. And we have Amazon also bouncing on Thursday and Friday. It give back some, but it's still above Thursday's low, so it looks okay. So Apple looks like it's breaking out from this trend line here, nice kind of handle area, and it's looking very sharp right now because we are expecting the conference this coming week. So there may be some new things going to be showcased here. So market definitely are getting into this stock, making new recent highs here, looking very sharp as well. Tesla also make a recent closing high here. It's still within this bigger base, but you can see in the recent weeks it's making new lows, higher lows. I mean higher lows, and also higher highs right on the uptrend here. So Yeah, it's slowly coming back up, so it looks actually healthy. So here's the intraday chart. We broke out this long trend line, and then now we're just slowly making higher lows here at the bottom range, and here we are, trying to come out here. So yeah, it looks really good. Netflix, was having some trouble recently, just staying near this zone here around the red line, and on Thursday it came out, so that looks really good. And Friday it gave back some, but it was making new morning highs, and then it gave back some, but still above Thursday's low, and we are now above all the short-term moving average. So this one also looked pretty good. So they're setting up possibly to climb on the right side right now. So yeah, thank you all for watching this video. I hope you guys enjoy this. Like and subscribe, please. And I'll be coming out with the next top growth list video. Make sure to follow that. There's lots of new names as well. So thank you for watching.